So our next presentation, and I think it's going to be a good one, is a water resource and the Deschutes Watershed Council panel. While they're being organized up here, go ahead and start your ways through. We're actually on time, which is amazing, because we started at 8. And it is. Well, I'll just wait till everybody's back.
And what you see is the human being almost runs out of students. Almost. Okay, that's the enemy. Okay. That's the enemy. Let's get into that in a second. All the basins are closed. We're 100% dependent on stream flow, on groundwater. And the very first thing the wells do is drown the streams. Oh, man. So everybody, who here thinks we live in a rainforest? Essentially, we live in a
No, well, now I don't.
I moved here.
The load.
right. Now,
Temperate rainforest.
Is that get all our water from the glaciers? Wrong and wrong. Okay, both of those are incorrect statements. It is review that and we don't do.
What?
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, now I've been told to look to see. So, all right, so let me think back to where's our water to come from? The whole community and where it's lying. Remember that the ecosystem will suffer most and will suffer first. I'll point out to you that in dry 11, it's not even June, say. Young Creek, you know the city of Young. There's a Young Creek. Very productive. The lower end of Young Creek is extremely productive. Young Creek is a dry system. But did you know that 20 years ago, Young Creek was regulated under the Shoreline Master Program as a flowing stream. It had a pink CFS and on 20 CFS. Okay. It's gone. It's gone. So if anybody tells you all streams are fine, they're just strong. That people, they're just going. Young Creek is now not a functional stream for most of the year, and we have a lot of dry streams. Scatter Creek is dry, throughout most of the summer. Now you may have nothing to do with the guy, and the wells didn't help as far as faith. The lower part of Scatter Creek is for instance, so you think, my gosh, Scatter Creek will pick it up. Scatter Creek, look at that. We have Buku 7. You have some of the Scatter Creek hills. Now, imagine that all those streams were flushed with water. We have far more. So, that gets me up to about 25% of my slides. The next slide I already talked about is the rest of the water. We pump water out of the ground, you groundwater. What happens to it? Most of it goes right back in the ground as septic waste. With that goes everything we put in our hair, everything we wash our bodies with, everything that comes out of our cleaning products, everything that comes out of our bodies in the sense of, you wouldn't believe the number of substances that are in our bodies, that are pharmaceuticals, that are in our products. All of that goes back into the septic system. Okay. Our septic system is designed, treated, and any of that. No. Any of that. No. They're designed to counter bacteria. They're very good at that. Soil is very good at counter bacteria. So the denitrification process is pretty good. So there's a big reduction in nitrate, but it's possible to the flow. So what we found in the tri-legacy stuff, which is partially, it's mostly issues, was that we find all of those substances present in most, and we find a ground associated with the reflux. Now, my hair's not on fire. Okay. I want you to be careful. I'm not trying to be disastrous. We have pretty good water in Los Angeles, but the risks are huge. In terms of wastewater, we have no solution, no obvious solution to the option. What to do with that wastewater? We just want to examine. The good news about wastewater is that if it goes to septic, if we charge us for it, took it out. So it's actually keeping the system kind of complete, sort of most. That's the use. So anybody here, who here wants to move a sewer everywhere? And sewer is a common solution we can bring up. Warning, you put in sewer, route that water back to Bud Inlet. Okay, just drop it into Bud Inlet. And do not recharge the inlet. So water doesn't fall. It's part of the water cycle. So that's the sort of pretty bad news about the mountain. How is the quality? Well, we don't have really good ways of treating that broad spectrum of pharmaceuticals and things. And that's a real issue. It's an issue whether we use septic, and it's an issue whether we use. So those things are third class. We go on to the third class, because we've done with water supply, we talked about a little bit about water quality, entire case. So the third class I want to talk about is stormwater. Now, stormwater, that is perhaps the most functional area of management. There are huge amounts of money, there are various streams actually plans, there are lots of staff, at all the agencies, expansions. We have certain safety. That's it, final. Yeah, safety final. Thank you. Everyone goes in. Instead, we have to think about all our cars are rolling with tires. Most of the people here today came here with car. Don't have a solution. Stop this. So I had prepared a series of slides about okay, we go down to the next one. Oh, okay. All right, I want to point out one thing about depth. Most of the big wells in northern Thurston County, in Ride 13, and in the Deschutes Valley, pump deep. Okay, enormous pumping deep. Now, what happens when we pump deep? Well, think of that, old Ross Road, the giant sunny sun. Okay, and the Ross Road in the 90s. Yeah. Okay. In one day, what happened? It created downward gradient. So if I'm putting it in septic shallow, what happens to it? It's pulled down. Now, our code at the county level assumes that the till layers, the measured till layers, protect us. Those layers of type material are going to prevent downward migration contamination. Turns out that over long time spans, it's going to be pulled down. Okay, it's going to be pulled down anyway. And in fact, when you model it, you get the same answer as when you test it. Or in fact, already finding it in the deep levels. But what if you do the obvious and say, well, you're running out of water shallow, just go deeper, no problem. There are people out there that are saying, we have so much done. We can just go deeper. No problem, don't worry about it. Okay. Well, right now, I've got a call on my desk from a woman who's got 1,200 people. You know what she's doing? Salt water. If you drill deep, here's how rain happens. Rain falls on the land and it forms a lands. Big pond of fresh water sitting on top of salt water. Because throughout the earth, salt water is naturally occurs. Over long time periods, minerals will dissolve into that water. Okay. And those minerals will eventually reach the concentration of rock, very much like salt. And then it gets mixed with ancient water. Maybe 20 we got shallow. And it's all and we're 100%. And our streams are already done. So folks, what's the answer? Well, the Department of College, the intelligence, the sole authority in Washington, a lot of people, all the management of the water. I don't. Now think about that. I work for Thurston County, but I don't have any authority over water. All I really have authority over is growth. Shooting curves faster than the county has some people with that. It was already there, and if it's being overused, if the college doesn't do anything about it, or we can't make it, or we don't notice it. Or if it happens so slowly, incrementally, over human attachments, no notice, changing, submission to place. No notice. For all those reasons, it's quite possible we end up with not enough water. Now, ecology has a solution. Their solution is mitigation. So if you want to exercise the water, so is anybody here in the city on water today? Not are you from the city government? Oh, well, I was interested. I thought it's good. So the water administers the brewery water. Remember, it's the water you can get here. One of the reasons that beer was so fabulous was they had huge water. I mean, all of that artesian water squirting up out of the Tumwater Valley in the city. It's an unbelievable water stuff. But look at that. How much do we come? All right. So all those rights were bought up. Went through the court process. Permits were issued. Tumwater was given responsibility to administer develop that water. All the growth plans, Tumwater and Olympia and Lakes all assume that blue waters can come online. Everybody wants that. Okay. Everybody wants them. It's a point. Ecology's solution was mitigation. You have to mitigate for those new burdens. Where are you going to mitigate? Where's the water going to come from to replace the water we're taking out? In other words, mitigation says we're fixing it when the water's coming out. What is that going to happen? Well, everybody's hoping that dam is going to infiltrate so much water that you have the Deschutes Estuary Reserve that it will substitute for a whole host of development. Remember the devil's bargain of mitigation. You got to let the thing happen and the harm occurs, and then you got to fix it. That's the devil's bargain. Okay. All right, ladies, can you hear me tonight? I'll talk like this. Yeah. No audio and no video.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the lights are going.
Where are we? Come on, move Kirsten. All right. So, all right. Let's talk forestry. Let's talk forestry model. All right. Is the gentleman from Warehouse still here? Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, Jason. Yes. I'm talking about you. No. All right. I have a slide. Okay. I'm glad you're here. The slide is from a very well-known paper everywhere by Perry and Jones, 2016. Marianne Ryder was well aware of their work. She was one of the key authors. Marianne Ryder, very influential senior scientist for warehousing. Perry and Jones' paper in 2016 showed a curve, and the curve looked like this. And you can tell me about crazy because it normalized HK Andrews 45 years of data. It's unbelievable. A lot of data, real field data, not modeling, real data. And it said immediately after you clear cut, there's a rushing storm water that runs off. Okay, but the young trees quickly begin to soak up that storm water and flows streams decline. When I speak of rushing decline, I'm talking about streams, particularly late summer. The young trees begin to suck up water and streams will declines. Below it was only talking about clear cut method. Okay, not forestry, clear cut method. This is a big deal. You need to distinguish it kind of forestry where you get positive change. So after 20 or 30 or 40 years of decline, young trees get mature, shading, big thick duff goes up. Then the stream flow gets clear cut. And the stream flow goes up and up and up and up and up. And by 100 years or so after the cut, you got back to the original stream flow. Okay. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is older trees are good. You like older trees a lot. Old trees are bad ones. And older trees can be cut. For example, anyone heard of capital land trust? Capital land trust, okay, capital land trust just negotiated with Port Blakely for increasing stand age from 40 to 80 through some kind of agreement, I'm not sure how they did that. Cheers. Thumbs up for Blakely. And it also happens to be the hillside on the rivers major spring that is lower. But I'm just saying, forests are fully half of the water budget. Think of that. Half of the entire water budget is controlled by vegetation, specifically forests and our area. Okay, half of the entire one. So if I've got the water budget and we're based on the Deschutes, why are we spending all our time fighting about peanuts and little grams of water down here? Because that's where I'm spending all my time. I'm scrabbling or trying to get Deschutes Restoration Act money to buy up a couple acre feet down basement. It doesn't do a hill beans food. What I wanted was that 10,000 acre feet from the upper basin. That's where the word matters, is in the upper basin. That's where you can get huge bang for your money. Okay? So you're now the most important man in the room right now, dude. Everybody talk to Jason on the way out. He's in there again. Amazing. All right. So what I want to leave you with is that through enormous cooperative efforts with Squats Down and Trot from our team project, we have developed a series of models which are the best we've ever seen. Is the best available science for groundwater flow using monoflow and surface water vegetation using some element. Which we'll hear more about. Those are both in development. We're getting better about a week. It's unbelievable. Great for the waters in for everything. So look for a complete, for example, in a few weeks, we're going to do remarkable. I am going to simply come in out of the wall pumping that pump. We're going to find out what happens in the Deschutes River when there's no one. Because we need to have a real baseline. And that baseline is going to be pre-formed. There's just no way around it. Okay, we have to have a pre-formed baseline. We don't know what's going to be for convergence. We don't know what happened in North County before we started pumping up. You have to have that baseline. And that baseline can give us something to shoot. I'm not going to say turn off the 24,000 pumping wells in the county. But we need to have absurd end members of the dialogue space so we can begin to say, okay, what exactly are we trying to do here? Okay, and the absurd end member becomes that framing, those walls on which we begin to make decisions. Okay, because everybody asks the question, you have a baseline. The science and got to have a baseline. Science doesn't work without baseline. So we'll come with it. And I'll get to there. I really apologize for the slides going out, but all right. Dave, thank you.
I think what we'll do is a few presentations and then we get to build out a little bit of time for best things to do. All three of us trying to use you guys. By the way, I've seen those slides. They're amazing. So people take them out to